Hi, I'm Daniel Mullen, and you're watching Purebred Reds, Adelaide United Fan TV.
G'day guys and welcome to the Purebred Reds Adelaide United Fan TV. I'm your host Ellis Gelios. I'm standing here with the Red Army's Secretary Mary Weaver, the Secretary of the Red Army, obviously the main active support for Adelaide United. We're standing here at the charity appeals game for the bushfire victims. It's Adelaide United versus an FFSA select team, and obviously what a fantastic initiative this is by the club. Surely Mary, we don't see many other clubs do this kind of thing, particularly in the A-League. Surely, if anything, it's something we could be doing more of, right?
Absolutely. It's a really, really good move by the club, and especially mid-season. You don't expect it for them to be willing to put players out there for a charity match, and I suppose risk injury and that. But it gives the second string boys a few minutes, and it's all for a good cause.
Absolutely, yeah. We are here to preview the game against Brisbane Roar, so we're going to jump into that. But just before we do, I'm just going to lay out a few things. So we play the Roar in round 18 this Saturday night. It's a 7 p.m. kickoff. As always, you can view the game live on Fox Sports and the KO Sports app. At the time of filming, there are no available squads. However, we do know manager Gertjan Verbeek has a bit of a selection dilemma potentially on his hands, given all the midfielders we have at our disposal. Now, a few quick facts just to get straight into things. Adelaide United have won their last 4 games against Brisbane Roar in the Hyundai A-League. There's been an average of 5 goals per game scored in each of the ties between the last 4 meetings involving Adelaide United and Brisbane. And the Reds' Riley McGree, if you can believe it, has scored 7 goals in his last 8 away games in the A-League, which is quite phenomenal stats from Riley. Now, Mary, we're going to jump straight into it. Assuming Mauk can play, which we should, I've got to ask you, Mary, what do you think should happen regarding our starting team? Now, whilst it's logical that, especially in a competition like the A-League, you should always play your strongest 11, Gertjan surely cannot overlook the fact that last weekend's team looked pretty flawless against Melbourne City in that 3-1 win. How does he go about picking the team this Saturday night? What do you reckon?
I'd say leave it. I'd say the midfield especially, but yeah, leave it the way it was. They've got really good confidence. They had such good flow against City. Obviously, having midfielders coming back, it does make it hard, but I think, if something's not broke, don't try and change it. Yeah,
very interesting indeed. We'll press on. So the Raw are in form. Up until last weekend, they'd gone 5 games undefeated. And let's remember, it was Sydney away last weekend when they lost, and to what is a seemingly unstoppable force at the moment in Sydney. How much of a danger game could this be for us? Remember that we have had some happy times up there, particularly on Anzac Day the Anzac Day weekend, last year when we beat them 5-3 at Suncorp under Marco Kurz.
I think if we score early, I watched the game against Sydney, and I've watched previous games, coming from Brisbane myself, and I've got some family and friends that are Brisbane supporters, so I've tried to follow it a little bit. Jamie Young has kept them in the game on more than one occasion this season, but if we can knock one in early, you see their confidence drop a little bit. So they held Sydney off for a really long period of time last week, and then they got unlucky towards the end. So, but if we can knock one in early, then it should put us in good stead. We should be right.
Surely the concerning thing has to be the fact that they really do set up to sort of stop other teams playing, particularly under Robbie Fowler. And obviously we know the way we like to play. Generally, what we've seen from Gertjan Verbeek's teams this season have been, teams that resemble free-flowing football. So is, I guess, the stylistic battle that you're going to get with Brisbane Roar the most concerning thing?
We've got to be as consistent as possible. Don't try and change knowing what they're going to come in to do. Keep our style, keep our flow, and let them do everything that they want. But we should be right. They have a really, really good tactic, and I think it's working for them against the stronger teams. That's been their strength this season. But as long as we keep our consistency, do the things that we've been doing right, we should be all right.
Beautiful. Now, Raw manager and Liverpool legend Robbie Fowler has been named January's Manager of the Month in the A-League. What's your assessment of how he's fared in the competition this season, both in terms of stylistically on the pitch and his off-field value as well, and his marketability, given he is deemed as the A-League's only ever marquee manager? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, he was God at Liverpool, but and he's certainly got a character about him. but he's not ranting and raving and throwing things like Rudan and some of the others either. So I think it's been mixed reaction. The Liverpool thing works for and against him in some respects. I think if you're a Liverpool fan, he has an incredible history as a player, and you want to see him succeed in the A-League. But he's got a lot of pressure on him as a marquee manager, like you said. So, but I think give him some time. He's already bringing the results this month, especially. So, I think we'll see good things. He just needs a bit of time.
Interesting little thing I'm going to throw at you. I have heard whispers that Marco Kurz was in the frame to become the next Raw manager. Fowler beat him to it. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the events of the last month or so kind of speak for themselves. So I think Brisbane will be thanking their lucky stars.
Beautiful. We're going to press on. There was a polarising article that came out in the media today illustrating how the South Australian government has mooted the likely possibility that Adelaide United will be playing in a new stadium in the years to come, which will be based in the CBD. You yourself, Mary, reaffirmed your stance that we as a club have little choice in the matter, and that without being able to buy Cooper Stadium and redevelop it, given how hard it is to upgrade it, that it's just too expensive and not feasible for our club. Therefore, a move away from Cooper Stadium in the long-term future is the only option we have. What I want to ask you is there no possible way that the club can continue to operate the way it is under Coopers as just a tenant and continue to pay the rent, obviously, and just have things continue the way they are since the club had its inception? What can you sort of contribute towards that?
Yeah, I think you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You've got dreams and ambitions of where you'd like to see the club go. The ownership group, even though Piet's the only face we see, he's always been honest since the first day that he'd love to see it grow, but it's just not viable for the current ownership group financially to purchase the land and everything that goes with it. As I said today, he tried to break it down. You're purchasing the land, then you've got to work around the sections that are on like the Manton Street side. There's a tiny little brick building there that's actually heritage listed, so you can't do anything with that. You've got all the sorts of red tape around it, so it's going to be millions and millions of dollars, and it's just not worth it. If you can hang on, try and work out a good relationship with stadium management and of course the Adelaide Entertainment Group. I think I've had meetings with management as well as part of the Red Army Committee. They're on board to keep us there. They want to work with us, so we've kind of just got to stick it out a little bit, and hopefully the government will come through. It's common knowledge that they've been, governments will throw that sort of stuff out there come election time and all that sort of thing, and nothing's ever sort of happened. With our football code, not the main code in the state, it's not really at the top of the list. They know that votes aren't going to be made or broken on that promise, but you can only hope that if they can incorporate it with other sorts of things that could link up in the city, concerts and all that sort of stuff, that there'll be more of a statewide sort of demand for it, not just our football, and then we'll reap the benefits of it. So let's hope.
Absolutely. I just want to ask, obviously we know the kinds of things that, will suffer from going into the city, like potentially, a lesser product from a vantage point of view with increased capacity. But given all those things in mind, what would you personally like to see this new stadium comprise? It'll obviously be multi-purpose. What's the best thing that we can hope for in terms of, I guess, the final aesthetic?
More seats, a roof. I'd love to see the standing active support at one end. I think that is just brilliant in itself. But just more facilities for the players and the teams. We can't even hold double headers because there's only one set of change rooms. It's just basic things like that stadiums around the country have managed, and we're prehistoric. So just the basic necessities to run a good game day, get the women in ahead. We can sort of really amp it up in that sort of respect. But yeah, seating covers so that weatherproof the sort of game day, and you'll see those numbers rise. So
brilliant. We're close to wrapping here, Mary. Now, here's one that a few people might be a bit triggered by, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Are you excited to see the hopeful debut of Yongbin Chen tonight, along with a host of other youngsters potentially for the first team, given that this is not listed as an Adelaide United youth team event. It's the first team, coached by Gertjan. So obviously a lot of youngsters on the outlook to potentially feature. But Yongwin Chen, the fifth and final foreign visa player signed for the senior team this year. Looks like we're going to see him in the flesh in the senior team for the first time.
Yeah, look, it's very clearly a business decision, not a footballing decision. Apparently he's still got a long way to go, but it'll be good to see him have a hit out. A lot of us haven't even seen him in action yet, unless you've gone along to a youth game or two. So it'll be good to see him get amongst the regulars and sort of try and make his mark, and hopefully he can learn something from the big boys.
Yeah, no questions there. Now, just before we wrap, I'll get your prediction first for this weekend. What's that going to be?
I rate Jamie Young, so it won't be a lot. I know we've scored a lot in the past, but it'll be a couple. They'll score one, but I think we'll win. Maybe 2-1, 3-1.
Who gets on the score sheet?
Probably Benny, and look, Riley's on fire. So.
Yeah, safe options. Now, before we wrap, a few things. Firstly, let's talk of the Red Army. So we're eagerly anticipating this month's Red Army Tour of Duty clash against Melbourne Victory in Melbourne on February the 29th, which is going to be a Saturday night. Talk to us about the significance of the event, especially given that we've been absolutely mugging off all the Victorian teams in the competition as of recently.
Melbourne away is something truly special for the Red Army. If you've experienced it, the memories live with you forever. Some you remember, some you don't maybe, but it's a special vibe. It's a special group of people. You meet people that you're going to be family and friends with for the rest of your life. So get along to it. The fact that we've been beating Victory on a good consistency lately is only going to improve the hype, because we don't often win over there. We very rarely win over there. So I think there's going to be a really good vibe going in that we'll actually come away with the win. It'll make the dollars you spend worth it. And like I said, the Red Army as a group going over, memories go down for decades.
Beautiful stuff, Mary. Just before we go, you are about to marry the president of the Red Army, Jason Cavey, so a big congratulations from us on that. That's going to be fantastic to see. We're about to kick off behind us here at the charity match between Adelaide United and Football Federation South Australia Select 11. It's a fantastic event. Very proud of the club for putting it on and participating, particularly like Mary said, during midweek. Let's hope that football wins today. Mary, great having you on. I'm sure we'll see you very, very soon. Continue to do the great things you do, and let's hope for a very big turnout in Melbourne.
Thank you very much. Anytime.
Beautiful, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Cheers.